Unexplained mysteries. Wow.
As the winter
Wow.
months draw nearer, the night falls sooner and
I'm
stays
probably
longer.
gonna get
We
bored
tend
of
to hear more
this.
spooky stories and ghostly tales, whether it is the annual horror hype through October or the eerie, crisp air of winter. There is
I'll
something
give it a
uneasy in the
shot.
atmosphere as we move through to the last few months of the year. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we will be taking a look at 3 horrific sights, 3 horror houses so wicked that they no longer stand.
No. Why? Why do they not stand no more? Tell me
Something
why.
uneasy in the atmosphere as we move through to the last few months of the year. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we will be taking a look at 3 horrific sights, 3 horror houses so wicked that they no longer stand.
What did you say about my house?
Ed Gein. Some people are capable of unthinkable things, true nightmares and terrible actions. Sometimes it's not the house itself, but rather the crimes the house has seen that are so shocking. Ed Gein's house was where the news of his dreadful evils had first come to light. In 1957, a woman and owner of the local hardware store went missing. She was tracked down to Gein's house, thanks to a paper trail of purchases, and that is when the scene began to unfold before them. The authorities found the woman in a shed on Gein's property, with her head missing and hung upside down.
Oh, jeez.
She had been suspended by a crossbar, had firearm wounds, and a number of mutilations that were determined to have been completed after she had passed. It was after the discovery of this woman that the case took an even stranger turn. The police searched the house, where they made a series of alarming discoveries,
They found more
artifacts
people.
made from humans.
Yeah.
Some of the items that were found included human skin being used to cover the seats of chairs, to make waste paper baskets, to form corsets, whole bones,
So this was
skulls
that
on his
guy.
bedposts. The list goes on. Some of the most disturbing things that were found in his house included a mask of one victim's face and a collection of female body parts.
He liked to make
He
things.
reportedly would go to the graveyard
He was an
and dig up
inventor.
recently buried middle-aged women that
Well,
he
not
thought
an
bore a
inventor,
similar
but
appearance to his mother.
he was a creator. He liked to create things. He was a hobby enthusiast. You know, some people use leather from cows, others from humans. You know, I'm gonna judge, and I'm gonna say that's wrong and it's sick. But it's his hobby. I'm kidding. It's wrong and it's sick.
Despite some of the body parts coming from girls as young as 15.
God
When he
damn.
was asked about what he intended to do, he said his aim was to create a woman suit, aiming to simulate crawling into his mother's skin. This house was certainly full of terrible things and unspeakable products made from humans. The things found were truly disturbing and unforgettable.
Yeah.
H.H. Holmes' castle torn down. H.H. Holmes earned himself the not-so-desirable title of America's first documented serial attacker. What started out as a hotel, a way to bring in some money during the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, quickly developed into horrors beyond what many of us could imagine. Holmes, who was born Herman Webster Mudgett, but changed his name reportedly to pay homage to Sherlock Holmes, the fictional detective, ran the World's Fair Hotel, also known as H.H. Holmes Hotel. This building seemed to be just that, a normal hotel, a source of income for the man, though it soon became known that something beyond check-ins were going on, and there certainly were not enough check-outs. The tales of this house have become warped through time and retellings. Who truly knows exactly what lay behind the doors of this building? The stories seem to tell us that this hotel was home to more than 100 rooms, filled with sinister devices and contraptions, from trapdoors and staircases that stopped at solid walls to gas rooms and false exits. It was said that once you got in, you most certainly would not find your way out of the tormented castle labyrinth alive. The castle saw the first floor as a row of shops, storefronts that could be rented to the businesses looking to flood to Chicago, a city that was in development, rising and truly starting to thrive.
Could you imagine being the business underneath all that shit and just knowing that there's people, countless people just being killed, murdered, and shoved in gas doors and rooms, and holy shit. Like, I couldn't live with myself knowing I paid rent to that man. And, like, paid for his torture devices that he did to kill people with. That's insane. That's absolutely insane.
It was from the second floor up that these terrible crimes began to surface.
Wow.
The third floor was to be rented out as apartments, making for ideal housing for those moving into the city, completely unsuspecting of what their fates could soon become. It was in between these floors that the secrets began to hide. The victims from the third floor were whisked to the second, where there were allegedly mazes, hidden stairs leading to nowhere, and even smothering chambers. It was the basement, however, that has truly made this house famous with the crimes we know it to have held today. The house featured hinged walls with fake parts between them. Some rooms had as many as 5 doors, while others appeared to be entirely inaccessible. Not only was the design odd, but the accomplishment was dreadful. Iron plating on the walls meant that sounds were almost eliminated, and police even uncovered airless chambers tucked away and hidden beneath the floorboards.
That's pretty advanced for, like, old-timey construction, like, if you think about it. He had soundproof walls, airtight chambers, and places for gas, harmful gas to escape. I mean, this guy's a madman, a mad genius, mad creature. If he had just put this talent and this effort into something good instead of something so evil. I mean, he's renting out to the bottom, and he was only renting out to the top to fulfill his fantasies. I mean, there had to have been something else that fulfilled his soul. Something good. Something positive. Not murder. He doesn't look like a crazy killer. It doesn't look like he would construct a madhouse with the guy previous did. He the skin suit wear. He did. He looked like he likes to wear skin suits. This guy looks like Chris from down the street, you know, like Barry. You see it down at the grocery store. Chuck at the gas station. Has been working there all his life. And Arturo at a meat market. He doesn't look like anybody, like, harmless at all. Maybe he got a little bit of a problem with his left side of his face, but that's about it.
Some rooms had strange chutes connecting rooms to the basement, and some were even fitted with gas fixtures, creating a homemade gas room.
That's so nuts.
All of these odd features somehow managed to remain undetected throughout the construction process,
That's
though
so
Holmes
crazy.
managed to avoid suspicion by frequently changing builders throughout the project. An almost
Well, that's how you
constant flow
do
of
it.
builders and architects meant that the big picture stayed hidden, and no one could see quite what all of these unusual bits and pieces were ultimately creating. He was caught as the remains of a child he had taken the life of were uncovered, and it was these that led to his arrest. Following the arrest, this was when the elements to the house were as the
Wait,
remains
what?
of a child he had taken the life of were uncovered. Throughout the construction process, though Holmes managed to avoid suspicion by frequently changing builders throughout the project. An almost constant flow of builders and architects meant that the big picture stayed hidden, and no one could see quite what all of these unusual bits and pieces were ultimately creating.
I guess.
He was caught as the remains of a child he had taken the life of were uncovered, and it was these that led to his arrest.
How was it uncovered?
Following the arrest, this was when the elements to the house were uncovered, as police continued to find more and more traps within the house. Holmes died via capital punishment in 1896, though some have formed conspiracies that he bribed officers to hang a different man in his place, letting him escape. These claims were refuted through DNA testing as recently as 2017. Now
Well,
the
that's
building has
good to
been
know.
removed. It was torn down in 1938 and was gutted out using fire before that in 1895, removing traces of what might have once stood there for good. Holmes himself claimed he had taken the lives of 27 people in the house, though sometimes he bragged about as many as 200, and some historians have begun to speculate that his true victim count was closer to 9, with that being the number he was officially linked to. We know that he was a vile
Nice.
person, though the concept of the dreadful castle could be one exaggerated and distorted through time. Some researchers, casting an eye back over the past, have begun to speculate whether the whispered legends of trapdoors and terrifying contraptions were the result of the media spinning more to the stories than what was truly there. We might never know for sure what took place within those walls, nor what dreadful crimes lied within.
Well, wouldn't the court cases have some
Indiana
semblance?
exorcism house of Latoya Ammons is demolished. Sometimes the terrifying
like a
things
person
we
right
experience are not always horrors inflicted by humans, but are instead something that is a little harder to explain. The Ammons family
Crazy.
home was one place that once saw plenty of awful and strange goings on, but it was not a human wreaking havoc upon this family.
It was a
The family
gene.
consisted of Latoya Ammons, her mother, and her 3 children, aged 7, 9, and 12, when they first moved into the home in 2011, though it certainly was not a blissful move. One of the initial strange goings-on was a swarm of black flies that surrounded their porch just days after they had moved into their new home, no matter how many times they believed that they had sprayed them. And the strange happenings only grew from there. Ammon's mother, Rosa Campbell, reported hearing footsteps coming from the basement rooms, and then the strange creaks of doors, having seen boot prints that she did not recognize, and even reporting a shadowy figure of a man. Whilst these are somewhat classic haunting sightings, what happened next certainly passes the typical threshold of a pleasant
those the
spirit
flies?
meaning no harm. Campbell said that she was choked by an unknown and unidentifiable force. The 12-year-old child was seen levitating above her bed during a sleepover. One boy was said to be thrown across the room, and the youngest to have had his eyes roll into his head before he began to growl a series of threats. Some claimed that the children were performing on behalf of their mother, not believing the claims of the paranormal events within the home. Becoming increasingly afraid and desperate, the family hired Father Michael
Yeah, they
Maganon
were just
to
pretending.
perform an exorcism after he concluded they were being tormented by
Mother was
demons.
just winding them up.
3 exorcisms later, the house and Latoya Ammons herself had been supposedly rid of any demons, and the family
See,
relocated,
I told you it
moving
was
in
Jin.
2012 to escape the horrors they had seen in their home. So what happened to the house? It was taken apart as part of a documentary series hosted by Zach Baggins, investigating the goings-on that were part of the history of the house. Who knows if the house was truly haunted? Who knows if the family has evaded demons since? Some horrors in our lives are tangible and others lie in a realm beyond